Hello again, my name is Ash and today we're going to look at one of the unique examples of Metroidvania that you can get right now. It's definitely not the best, even among the indie studios. In this regard, Hollow Knight is the ultimate winner here without any doubt. But it is definitely one of the most violent and grotesque examples of action platformers that will either make you love it or hate it from the first sight, but you will surely remember it for a number of reasons. Personally, I enjoyed it a lot because I've got a completely new experience in this old-fashioned game genre. At the same time, I won't deny its drawbacks, including its inconsistent difficulty, bad explanation of the side quests, and the overall plot of the game in general. So, this is the Blasphemous, and the penitent one is a guy with a spiky helmet is our protagonist. Who is he and what is happening in the world is unclear, even after the ending credits, but it seems that he's fighting the so-called miracle, a curse that has corrupted his homeland and infested it with a limitless number of monsters and misfits that survived for some unclear and unknown reason. And thus, the adventure of the penitent one begins with him killing some demon, filling his helmet with its blood and putting it on. And this is the first what the F among many others. After that, we face hordes of different monsters that we brutally kill and try to save the world in the meantime. Other than that, I've got no effing idea whatsoever regarding the story and all characters that inhabit the world of Custodia. This is the similar effect to the series of Dark Souls and Bloodborne, where we wander from one location to another and figure out the game's lore from certain items we collect. But instead of making us read the weapons and armor's descriptions, the game makes us collect body parts of people dead after the miracle's coming, because you definitely get the story of a person after you collect his or her thumbs. At the same time, the grotesque, bloody and highly surreal cinematics right from the start explain what exactly needs to be done to get the negative ending. To get the negative ending, because in order to get the positive one, you're required to complete an additional quest that you get no clue of its existence whatsoever. I personally discovered it randomly by hitting everything that I saw, but the game itself pushes the player to know less and try his or her best in understanding what the hell is going on. The same was even with the Hollow Knight and many other Metroidvanias, so I believe many players will get fond of this narrative nonetheless. I like the style of the game the most. It compensates fully for its weaknesses in gameplay and overall technical stability. The pixel art based on the medieval Spanish religious legends and folklore is the combination of awesomeness and surreal gruesomeness, because almost all NPCs and enemies are either suffering from physical trauma, mostly mutilation, or witnessing it in the most shockingly possible way. There were specific areas that left me stunned because of depictions of torture and bloodlust combined with some sort of peace and acceptance. It's really hard to explain the impression, so I'd really recommend you to experience it by yourself, if you're of course older than 18 years old and don't get sick from the constant images of gore content. Believe me, there is a lot of it. The design of enemies and bosses leaves the same impression, because it's that kind of enemies that we rarely get in such type of games. Even in the most hardcore action games, we get either some humans in armor, beast-like monsters that look disgustingly painful, or some techno mess, rubber, tech, mecha, whatever, in case of a sci-fi parody of Dark Souls. I'm looking at you, Surge and Surge 2. Stop ripping off the ideas of Transformers. Let's see, here we've got a big freaking guy in a massive bell that charges in every time he sees you. We've got a guy with a baby on his head who hits you with an effing deer. We've got the walls that hit you with real weapons and more original content that is just a series of recycled religious, old-fashioned, medieval content that was hidden somewhere before this existed. But it works, and once again offers a completely new vision of the enemies right in front of you. And don't get me started with the boss's design. The gameplay itself is quite standard for Metroidvanias. You explore a certain area full of platforms and traps and kill many enemies, then get access to new areas and rooms and repeat the same old-fashioned killing. I like the fact that with new abilities and items you can discover many of the world's secrets, and that's basically why I appreciate the genre of Metroidvania in the first place. At the same time, the platforming mechanics needs a lot of fixing because it fails to register players' input properly and frequently and on time. It's a problem. Don't know about you guys, I've been playing with an official Xbox 360 controller, like this guy, and still had many issues with jumping and grabbing vertical platforms. Basically, that was the major reason for me dying, because of improper jumping more often than from like fighting enemies. Taking into account that there are certain quests that require a lot of platforming without like teleporting and using some skills, and including the number of traps, which is a lot, the overall exploring experience wasn't that pleasant at times and not challenging, just frustrating. The fighting here is simple and does not really make any reason for the player to use any skills or some whatever, instead of simply mashing the attack button. I personally used plunging attacks in certain cases, but in 90% of the fighting encounters, I just used the basic attacks and dodges. The parrying is satisfying as hell. It's easy to handle and it leaves the impression that you're overpowered and prepared to simply slaughter anyone with no resistance from enemies. The animation and final blows that happen rarely and randomly still look brutal and satisfying as well, which is a good thing. I'd like more of that, please. As for the weapon power-ups, they basically make no sense and weaken your weapon or character with no decent compensation. The character power-ups are not balanced properly as well, because very frequently I encountered mid to late game bosses really overpowered and simply like whooped their asses easily. There were certain chaotic and random difficulty spikes, that's true, especially when platforming did not work, which made the overall experience like inconsistent, which is nah. In other words, the majority of bosses was like really easy and quick to beat, while certain enemies were crushingly hard and unfairly crushingly hard. In total, it is just a minor issue because the mysterious story, interesting and original worlds full of some surreal entities, the brutal and bloody fighting, all of this have made the game one of the most memorable this year. If you like Metroidvanias, definitely give it a try and like support the developers, of course. The game is not that expensive, but really gives a valuable experience. For me, it's 4 out of 5. That's it for today, thanks for watching. Leave a comment about whether you played the game or not, whether you liked it or not, and about what should I review next in my future video. Or tell me what you thought on Twitter, you'll find the link in the description below. Plus, I stream on Twitch occasionally, so you can ask me anything live if you catch me there, so you can follow me there as well. And now, that's it for today once again, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.